to test the prototype. So the idea was to ensure that whether it will sustain or not, or whether it can be functional, because this is a complete hardware test. If they start designing a complete car initially and then the prototype failed, that would be a big loss for the company. So initially what they did, they used parts from existing cars. The most popular one they used is Lotus Elise body they used initially. So that company was providing the external car body to them, and inside that they used to fit their own this battery backup and for the electric setup, whatever they needed for that. And we run some tests at initial stage. And with the extensive testing and iteration over development, with the improvement over time, ultimately when they found that everything is fine with their Tesla design, then they came with their first version that was Mule 1 version that roads. So we can just see how minimal product prototype design could save them huge amount of money at initial stage. Otherwise, they would have spent a lot amount to create that entire car model and then put their own design inside that. But if something is readily available in the market, why design it? Just use your idea within it and then test it, and if it works fine, then bring something new to the market. So that led to a great success to this big brand. And similar things goes with many other products also that are based on some coding platforms, IoT-based platforms, where the initial cost is otherwise very high. But we do some prototype testing with some existing raw materials, and then we try to judge if our idea is going fine or not, and ultimately moving further, one more idea that is piecemeal MVP. And this is built using some existing tools basically. Some ready-made tools or services instead of building something from the scratch. And it basically targets to save money and time by testing a new idea. It could be one of the best examples we can have for this is Groupon. This is a very big firm at the present, a big company at the moment. And how they started with the initial idea. The person who started this particular company at early 2000s when they started, the idea here was like very common tendency all have is to bargain while buying some product. We do not find the price appropriate and then we start bargaining. If something is costed at rupees 500, we say like it takes 400. That kind of bargaining people have a habit to do while buying something in the market. So the person who started this Groupon, this was initially an idea of grouped. Grouped coupon was the actual name. There were two words that combined later to create this Groupon company name. So he created an idea that instead of using the bargaining potential of an individual, why not term it group bargain? So if a large number of people are interested in buying similar kind of product, let us have them collectively on physical platform where they can bargain for the right price and they can have a mole cow kind of thing, and they can have a suitable output, or they can have a suitable price that is suitable for all the members in that group directly. So based on that, they started with the group buying concept, so that they can reduce the cost. And it was useful for the sellers also, because when they are marketing things to sell to more individual, if they get a group of buyers all together, that would definitely be useful for them, because they are selling in bulk in that case. So they were also fine to offer some discounts in that case. So this started the platform called Groupon. So initially they started with a very simple WordPress website, a very simple page they created, and some PDF-based coupons that they used to email manually to the people, so that the target people can have interest in their product, and based on that they could have initial design for it. And based on this, further people started combining the opportunities. They started combining it. Based on this, later on they could invest on the idea, and they could have a better scope for the bargaining, and both parties, the sellers and buyers, were on the happier end. So this was with the piecemeal MVP. And I have given you plenty of ideas, although you will find many other ideas also for MBA this time. Because startups are on like a very flourishing stage these days, and the opportunities are coming for the startup. So these are just quick ideas that these initial testings with your products or services you can do like this. And while moving with these ideas, let us have some initial steps that you need to understand to build the MVP, that you need to understand at initial level. And for that, the first thing is to identify the core problem. That should be your very first objective whenever you start with anything in a lean startup specifically. Start with the problem, not with the solution. Because the major reason behind startup failure is they start with the solution, and later on they find out that there is no like challenging problem that their solution or their product is solving in the market, and that leads to quick. So better to start with the problem. First, try to identify what problem people are facing, what are the pain points of the customers. That idea you need to have at first. That should be your first ask point, and then you need to know how they are currently dealing with that problem. Do they have some existing solution or not? If they have an existing solution, how much beneficial it is to them, or if there is a cost point also to consider, you can ask them how much they invest to get this solution, and if your idea is like less costly in comparison to that, definitely you are on the higher edge in that case. So you need to understand whether this is a frequent pain point for the customers or not. Like if some problem occurs only once in a year, it could not lead to a profitable business long term. But if some problem is occurring like every day or every day people are facing that kind of issue, that could be a solid business idea. Because if you design a solution for that, people are going to look forward to it every day. Like for instance, you can compare it with the Uber cabs. That was a daily problem for people to commute from office to home and vice versa, to travel around the city, to go for the shopping, to go for some small tasks around. That was a common daily problem for the people. So the inventors of the Ubers analyzed it initially and solved the problem of commutation by offering a quick cab solution that could pick people from their home, drop it at their desired destination instead of waiting for the public transports. So this is how, if you start with a problem, you can find a more viable solution, and then accordingly you can make your investments in the long run. So avoid solution first trap, rather validate your problem first and then invest on it to find a solution. In the second stage, we need to define target customers. The second step you will have. Once you have identified your problem, make sure you are defining the target customers also. You need to know for whom you are building your product. You need to identify who are the early adopters, who are the people who are willing to try new things. Because when you are designing a solution in terms of a product or service, definitely, it is not like every random person will be ready to test it. For example, like you have an idea like Uber, where you are giving people some ride from their place to their destination directly, and with a quick service also. Suppose if the person who was coming with the Uber plan, he discussed his initial idea with some auto rickshaw drivers, would he be successful or not? You all can imagine yourself. So with whom you are testing your things initially, because auto rickshaw drivers already are in threat with Uber. If someone discussed that idea with them at initial stage, they would have all said that this is not a right thing to do, don't do this is not the right business to do, because it is going to hamper their own business over there. But still this invention was yet needed, because not every time autos are a relevant solution for the people. Sometimes they need safe cars also. And sometimes in bad weather they cannot travel in autos, so they need cars in those situations. So it is about with whom you test your initial ideas, if they are able to provide you right feedbacks or not. One of the biggest challenges we have in our society these days is our communities, our surrounding networks, our families, And our social network is grown up with a job mindset. Very rarely you will find people with a business mindset around you. So when you have a startup idea in your mind and you discuss it with a person who is completely into a job mindset, they will not have a potential to guide you because they have the mindset of that salary security, that every month you will have a fixed income, you have security from the government jobs that they have in their mind. So that hype is in our society over the years. That the job, you are secure, you are safe, you are getting the permanent salary every month, you are getting all the medical benefits, all these things are in our mind. But if we go with that mindset only, we will not have innovations in our society, we are not going to solve new problems. So we need to think differently. And in order to validate your ideas, you need to find people who are right enough to guide you on this. And also, the customers you are targeting for trying your new things, your new product ideas, they should be also capable enough to give you right feedbacks instead of thinking, having a biased thinking about your product. They should have open feedback. So accordingly, you have to choose the early adapters. Also, you need to be very careful that who are the right people to whom you can showcase your product or from whom you can gather your feedbacks. Like there should be a specific age, there should be specific job type, lifestyle, or behaviors, or the pain points of the customers to whom you need to target. Like for instance, if you are designing a product which is useful for maybe elderly people, but you are taking feedback from the youngsters, it will not be a right thing to do. Because something that is useful for the elderly people, they would give a better feedback whether it is getting useful for them or not. The youngsters will not be able to understand the pain points that elderly patients are having or elderly people are having. So you need to target your feedback givers accordingly. Not everyone is your customer. Focus on small set first. Try to learn from their feedback to improve your product and then assure your big wins over time. Once you have identified your target base, then you can grow your business up to larger scale because that kind of community will be available in the entire world. So you can target it at a larger scale later on. One of the best examples for this you can have is Airbnb. They initially targeted only the budget travelers who were looking for some relevant alternatives to the hotels instead of putting the direct competition to the audiences that are already living in the hotels. That was not their idea. They were looking for some budget friendly solutions, and that created a better scope for their company. And now this is a big business. They are targeting a large scale audience over the time. Moving further with the third step, you need to select the key assumptions to test because there may be so many assumptions in the mind at initial stage. So instead of going ahead with all of them, start with the basic versions initially. Check who are the customers that are facing that problem. Check whether they want a solution or not, and are they willing to pay for the solution or not. Because these three things are the most important ones. If they are not willing to pay, your product, your service is not going to run. If they are willing to pay, it means that is the main pain point for them, and they need an immediate solution for that. So in that case, your idea will work. So it is better to test your riskiest assumption first. That you feel like this may be more challenging, better to test it first. Get feedback from the people. And based on that feedback or assumptions that you are solving from the people, based on that you can improve your idea or you can shift to a new idea also. Like I've given you an example of Dropbox. So initially they had just a vague idea and they provided it with the explainer video. When people showed interest, then they built the exact project and then the